koto was originally part of the gagaku ensemble. It came from China, was with gagaku, and then was spread throughout the temples, which later became the koto that we know today. So to give you a comparison of what the Japanese koto of today sounds like versus this original gagaku koto, I have changed the tuning of my koto to a gagaku tuning to hyojo. Now, let me be clear. This is not a gagaku koto. This is my normal koto that I use to play Japanese music, to play more modern koto music. So this is definitely not the same as what they use in the gagaku ensemble. Big differences being the bridges are a little bit shorter and not nearly as thin and pointed, and the strings tension is definitely different. The string construction is different. The picks on my finger is different. The gagaku koto has a much more tense, rough, sort of raspy sound, where my Japanese koto definitely has a much more etherical, warm sort of sound. But what is interesting is when I take this gagaku tuning and put it on my very modern koto, we get this sort of sound. Which is not the typical Japanese sound that we think of. This is almost very Chinese sounding. Very pretty though, isn't it? So, if we take this tuning of hyojo and we play a typical gakuso or gagaku koto pattern, we get something kind of like this. Now let me repeat, I do not play gakuso or gagaku koto at all. So my hand positions are definitely going to be incorrect. Please watch the attached videos for a better representation of a professional doing this correctly. But just to give you an idea of where this instrument comes from, we'll have a pattern like this. Now I'm pretty bad, I'm struggling here, but what you really should note is my attempt to do positions with my hand. That my hand positions is equally as important as the pitches and the rhythm I'm playing. So to show you again. And you notice I'm pointing with my fingers. Please watch a professional do this. They do it much more gorgeous than I do. But once again. Is the roots of koto. Now, to quickly show you, when we go to our Rokudan-no-Shirabe tuning, we have to change all of this. So even though it's really similar to this, the sound is going to dramatically change. So we're going to change our pitches here. And then we have this. Here is our typical Japanese sound. Once again, it's actually the same construction of pitches. It's just where they're placed and what the relationship between the pitches is changed a little bit, where you get that very Chinese, bright, sunny sound to this sort of dark, beautiful but sad morning kind of sound. So this is the koto that we're dealing with today. We're going to go over quickly Rokudan-no-Shirabe and kind of explain what's going on. So to start off with, Rokudan-no-Shirabe is the idea of taking a theme and creating different variations on that theme through 6 different movements. Roku being 6, Dan being sort of movement, Shirabe being exploration. What can we do with this as we go? So at the beginning of the piece, we get our main theme. Here is our main theme. It's 5, 3, and you will hear this over and over and over again. For example, right away in the next line, we have a little ornamentation. And then the theme. Then we move away from the theme again, have a little bit more ornamentation. We have a and then the theme again. So that's the theme 3 times right at the beginning of the first movement of Rokudan-no-Shirabe. Then it goes on and it plays a lot of really beautiful stuff and more ornamentation. But finally, at the end of the first movement, we have, once again, this whole 7 and then the theme. Then we go on to movement 2, and movement 2 starts with a little bit of ornamentation, but right away we hear this theme again. And then when you think it's going to be 1, 2, it actually goes away from that and moves on. And it goes on, and it plays more orientation, and finally we get the... Then 2 takes off, and once again we have lots of really beautiful ornamentation happening over and over again, but once again it ends on, you lift up the 7, then we get to movement 3. And movement 3 starts with this really beautiful glissando that goes down to the 6, and then the theme. And then from there, 3 really takes off. It really has a lot of new techniques being added in, a lot of fun being added in. The piece is slowly speeding up. But then once again at the very end of this movement, we have the 5. Just like at the beginning. With the hiki iro. Then we go on to the 4th movement. And the 4th movement, or the 4th dan, is really fun because it doesn't even start with the melody at all. It just takes off, and I can't play it at all. But it's really fast, it's really fun. But once again, it ends with the... a little bit different, but kind of the same idea. And then the piece gets even faster. We get to the 5th dan, the godan, and it really starts getting faster and faster, and we don't hear the theme as much, though of course at the end we have to have a little bit of the theme, so we have a... which is much faster than what I'm actually playing it at. Then we finally get to the 6th dan, and the 6th dan is its own beautiful, fast, how fast you can play it kind of thing until we get to the end, which starts to slow down and really focus on the colors of the koto, and then we have that beautiful glide, and here's where it gets interesting. That's 6, and then we have the he, and the very last we just go... Not 5, 3, 1, 2, just 5, 1. Which is actually the same pitch played on 2 different notes. And that's where it ends. It doesn't even end with the fullness of the theme, it just ends on. Which gives it that sort of mysterious, kind of sad, I don't know where we're going type of ending. Now, that's basically how the piece is put together. Let's look at the first movement again, since that's what we're focusing on for today. So the first movement starts off with a theme, and what's really important here is this hiki iro. And so what that basically is we take the string and we're going to push it in, crank it all the way in to actually lower the pitch. So we have this sort of sound. We play the 5, crank it in, and you hear it go down. It's a very subtle type of sound. Let's do it one more time. One of the keys to this particular technique is really holding onto the outside bridge and then pushing this side of the string in with that side of the string from the opposite side of the bridge here. Once again. And then you hold it. You can see there's a circle there in notation. You hold it. And then you take a deep down breath, a komi, and then you go on. Feel it as the end of the phrase, even though it's not very long. And hold it. Now, one thing I haven't explained yet is the Kororine, which is a very Koto-like rhythm and way of creating a Koto-like sound. So that happens from our 8-7-6. It's kind of like a hill that you fall down on. That's our Kororine. And this is really key throughout the whole piece. This is a very Koto-y rhythm. You hear this all over the place. So to hear that, we start after the first opening theme. Then we have the 3/4. Then the next big technique we have is the oshide, which happens on string 7, and that's when you push down the string either for a minor second or a major second. Either is a minor or a major. You put it all the way down. So that should sound something like this if we add the Kororine with it. What's really important here is your hand should be very straight and you're really playing at the, I don't know if you can see that, the tip tops of your fingertips. You can see I have some really deep lines in there right now from playing today. So, things I want you to really listen for when you watch the professional play. First, this opening line, this opening theme. How long do they hold it for? What is the actual timings? Once again, we have the 5. Hold. And play. Colorine. So those are your basic techniques. Now throughout the piece we actually have some other really neat techniques that we're not going to see because these are in the other movements, but you have things like scraping of the strings with your fingers, and of course everybody's all-time favorite technique, the sa, go all the way down, which is pretty cool. I'm not particularly good at doing that, but you have that very Koto sort of technique going on. So I want you to listen for that, as well as all of the finger techniques going on, especially how much easier the professional plays versus how I play, and the beauty of the hands, how gorgeous the hands are shaped on the koto, which, as we've talked about, is part of the tradition and part of the history of the koto itself. Please enjoy.